Hello, everyone, and welcome to this episode of Ignition Time. For the first time ever, the Biden administration is threatening to rescind stimulus funds from a state over something you're not going to believe, over an anti-mask school policy. Welcome to this episode of Ignition Time, everyone. My name is Dr. Chhoda. This right here is a little bit of information about me. You'll learn more about who I am, what my journey has been like, and why you should listen to me, folks. Here's a headline of an article on your screen from the Washington Post. The Biden administration is threatening to rescind stimulus funds from the state of Arizona over the anti-mask school policy in the state. In fact, the Treasury Department does not like the state's plans to use roughly $170 million that was awarded to the state of Arizona under the American Rescue Plan to promote a ban on school mask mandates. So the Biden administration has threatened to claw back more than $170 million in federal stimulus money that was allotted to the state of Arizona. And this was done after the state announced that it would use the $170 million in a way that would discourage schools from requiring students to wear masks. This is a very unusual and a very rare demand that was actually issued by the U.S. Treasury Department, which, by the way, told aides to Arizona's Republican leader, Governor Doug Ducey, that they have 60 days to reprogram the funding in a way that allows the original intent of the $170 million was that it should be an investment to combat the spread of COVID. Instead, the state is using the cash in a way that would discourage schools from requiring students to wear masks. In fact, the governor and their spokesperson have not yet commented on this, but this dispute centers on Arizona's portion of a $350 billion program that was authorized under the American Rescue Plan. This $350 billion went to states across the U.S. In fact, that initiative awarded cities, counties, and states a sizable chunk of money to spend mostly as they saw fit. Some local governments use the money to boost their economy, improve public health, and address local budget deficits. Others pursued pet projects and political priorities. In Arizona, though, local lawmakers said that they would use the cash to try and carry out their ban on local school mandates. And some districts had chosen to ignore this before the state Supreme Court ultimately invalidated many rules back in November. One such program that totals $163 million offers grant money to schools that were struggling for cash, but only if they followed all state rules, including requiring masks, and the states would have to commit to in-person instruction. Well, folks, what happened was something a little bit different from the original intent. Doug Ducey from Arizona said in a statement in August announcing the spending, "Safety recommendations are welcomed and encouraged. Mandates that place more stress on students and families are not. These grants acknowledge efforts by schools and educators that are following state laws and keeping their classroom doors open for Arizona's students." Now, a second $10 million fund also awarded grants, folks, to help families place their students in charter schools if their local districts resumed distance learning or required masks. The governor also said this: "We know that historically disadvantaged communities bear the brunt of excessive and overbearing measures, and we want to ensure these students are protected." Now, folks, the Biden administration is very, very frustrated with the state of Arizona. In fact, the agency's deputy secretary, now when I say the agency, I mean the Treasury Department, and the Treasury Department issued its first threat to the state of Arizona back in October, pointing out that the public health consequences of avoiding facial coverings could lead to continued loss of life in the pandemic. In fact, the deputy secretary of the Treasury Department, and the deputy secretary's name is Wally Adeyemo, specifically faulted Arizona for policies that, I quote, "undermine evidence-based efforts to stop the spread of COVID-19. Now, the state did explain its reasoning in a November reply, but the Treasury Department said that it remains concerned that Arizona's plans are inconsistent with the purpose of the stimulus funds. In fact, Kathleen B. Victorino, who's a top compliance officer at the agency, said that Arizona had 60 days to address the issues or risk the government, I quote, "initiating an action to recoup the money and potentially delaying the distribution of the second tranche of state-focused aid until the Treasury Department's concerns are, I quote, appropriately addressed." Now, let me know whether you agree or disagree with this entire situation, because I can tell you, folks, that this is the first time that the federal government is actually clawing back money from states, taking away federal funds if states essentially go against the original mandate of the money. And so this is pretty incredible, folks. Let me know whether you agree or disagree with this entire approach. Specifically, if you live in Arizona, doesn't matter whether you're a Republican or a Democrat, do you agree or disagree with the federal government actually rescinding stimulus money from a state if the state does not follow the original intent of the money, the original idea behind which the money was probably provided. Now, again, I don't want this to become a political issue, folks. I want our viewers and subscribers to let me know in the comment section below whether you agree or disagree with what the federal government is doing, with what the Treasury Department is doing. Because the Treasury Department, think of them as the money people, are basically saying, hey, we gave you the money. The money had a specific purpose. The money had a specific intention. You agreed to it, and then you're essentially going around that and saying, "Hey, I'm going to use the money for the opposite of what was intended," which is exactly what the Treasury Department is saying, which is something that Arizona has tried to clarify with the federal government, specifically the Treasury Department, in writing. But the federal government is like, "Nope. You have 60 days to make things right, or we will initiate a process to rescind this money, to take this money back." Where do you stand with this? Let me know in the comment section below. Thank you so much for watching, everyone. Please click like. Please click subscribe. Please enable notifications. I've been at the forefront of covering news that impacts our country, the economy, as well as our money. I've been at the forefront of all the news pertaining to the stimulus, unemployment benefits, and also, most importantly, matters that impact your bottom line since the start of the pandemic. I appreciate your support. Please help me spread the word about our channel by telling your friends and family about the Ignition Time channel. Also follow me on Twitter. My Twitter handle is ignition_time. That's ignition_time. I'm looking forward to hearing your thoughts. I want to know what you think in the comment section below. Let me know what you think. Once again, thank you so much for watching. My name is Dr. Nitin Chhoda with Ignition Time. I'm looking forward to seeing you in the next episode of Ignition Time. Take care. Bye.